Alright, in this video we are going to be field stripping an AK-47. This is just a regular AK-47. It's not a AK pistol or whatever. So the first thing we do before we do anything with the weapon is we check to see if it's unloaded. So we remove the mag from the weapon. For this time to cycle the bolt on the AK, you have to take it off of safe and put it onto fire, at which point you can take the bolt down and verify there's nothing in there. Also, for further checking, you want to look inside the breech and everything, and it doesn't seem to be anything in there. Well, go ahead and observe that, and yeah, so we're all good to go. With it staying on fire, you start with this little spot in the back. Push on this little button, which is attached to actually the recoil spring. Go ahead and push that off to where you can remove the dust cover. Dust cover comes away. Set that aside for cleaning. Oddly enough, the weapon will still fire in this with the dust cover removed. So what you do from here is remove the recoil spring. So just push it forward and walk it out of these little slots that it's in, and it will just come straight out. It's housed here within the bolt piston. Slightly different from the AR-15. So go ahead and just pull the bolt carrier group to a point where there's a small gap where it will come out, and then take the whole piston out of the gas tube up here, and here's your entire bolt carrier group for the AK-47. And you can also rotate this while it's in the there. It goes up and down, or it'll fit within this little notch inside the bolt carrier, so it won't fly out or anything. You can push it all the way down, rotate it, and it will come out. And then here's that little notch that the bolt was rotating in and stopping when it came flush with this. So go ahead and clean up and do everything you need to on that. The firing pin is located within this bolt. Clean the extractor, clean all of this. It'll get really carbony and dirty. Go ahead and just clean up your bolt carrier group right here with the piston included. And also now to remove the gas tube on the AK, there's a little lever right here that needs to be rotated upwards. And sometimes this can be very difficult, and it might not actually come up. Don't use pliers or anything like that. I have heard that you can use this little notch in the bolt carrier group to set it in there and go ahead and rotate that thing however you need to. Set the bolt carrier aside and then have it up more or less and kind of finagle that thing out, and the gas tube will come out totally. At which point in time you can clean the gas tube and all that good stuff and make sure it's nice and clean inside there. Go ahead and clean all inside the underneath the sights and everything, and at the very front clean that inside there too. So you can also go ahead and start cleaning the inside of the lower portion of the AK, the fire control group, the trigger group, all that kind of stuff. Clean inside the barrel, so there's no carbon or anything inside there. Go ahead and just clean all that up and you'll be ready to go for another shooting. Technically the AK doesn't really require much cleaning. It's got a huge bolt throw, and it's a very simple mechanism, and it will fire under many different conditions. But to go ahead and put that back together, you'll want to slide this front part on first and then drop it into that slot where you can kind of finagle that thing down. You may have to move this out of the way and it'll get in there. I mean, like, it's an AK, so you can kind of push on things a little harder than you could an AR. Go ahead and rotate that thing down to where it falls back in that little divot thing inside the upper part, this metal part right here. You have to rotate this key back down into that position to retain your gas tube within the weapon itself. Now, for reassembly, you are going to have to run the bolt in through here and make sure it's underneath these little metal lips here. And so sometimes it'll feel like it doesn't want to go, actually the hammer is kind of sticking that, so it's in the way of that. You can still push it down here, but that's what you're going to do with the bolt carrier group whenever it comes time for reassembly. So take your bolt carrier and your bolt, drop the bolt in there, and then rotate it to where it will stay in there and it won't come out on its own. So now you know it's in a proper orientation. And then you can go ahead and run this back into the AK itself. So the piston goes inside the gas tube with this whole mechanism sitting down like this, and then those two little gaps push the bolt down into and then ride that forward. So it doesn't take a whole lot of pressure, but yeah, that's how that's done. At this point in time, where the recoil spring was, go ahead and put the recoil spring back in there while you're pushing this side of it with a little button, and you will line up those little slots that it came out of and go ahead and stick it back in like so. So there's these little this retaining area where the recoil pin or recoil spring can go, and there you go, it's all good to go. So now you know it's in there. Take the dust cover, and this takes some finagling and some working and stuff like that. Just kind of I found the easiest way to do it is to set this part in first, because trying to line it up and then this little button at the back that actually moves is kind of a pain. So at this point in time, you just kind of like, while applying forward pressure, while grabbing this little button with the dust cover itself, just kind of like push down. Like I said, it's an AK, so I mean it can take a lot of punishment, and it's in. So that's really all you need to do for the AK. And yeah, that's it. That's really it. And check again. You can pull the trigger, and it works. Rotate it to safety. Try your trigger again. Safety works, so the weapon is functional. And then yeah, that's it. That's all it takes to take down and clean the AK.